little bit of history repeating.
When we look at the world today, we can see how governments influence other governments through their use of diplomacy, such as having ambassadors and representatives of their government visit other heads of state to discuss mutual interests, to the use of military force. We can also see how we as people can be influenced by other countries in other ways, such as the food that they eat, fashion, art, and communication. Now this deals with influences today, but during the Roman period, the Romans exerted their influence through the control of foreign territory and by taking and exploiting resources from other lands. In this video, we'll look at the political, social, and cultural way of life of the people of the Roman Empire. Similar to Athens, Rome was also situated on a peninsula. Now this is the Italian peninsula. Rome developed from the unification or uniting of several villages of Latium, a plain in central Italy. Now Rome was situated in a fertile area and made farming and the breeding of animals quite easy. The Tiber River also helped irrigate the soil and was a helpful communication route. The Seven Hills of Rome also provided protection from invading forces. Legend has it that Rome was founded by Aeneas, a Trojan survivor of the attack on Troy. His descendants were two twin brothers named Romulus and Remus. The two boys were abandoned at birth but were rescued by a wolf who nursed them to health. When they grew up, Romulus ended up killing his brother, which is why we call the city Rome after Romulus and not Rheims. Rome was desperate for new resources, which led them to conquer the Mediterranean. Between 264 and 164 BCE, Rome waged a series of wars against Carthage in North Africa. These were called the Punic Wars. By the end of these wars, Rome took control of Carthage as well as Corsica, Sardinia, and Sicily. But Rome wasn't done. They continued their conquest by taking control of Greece and Gaul in present-day France and Belgium. Rome had spread its empire, and the spread of the Roman Empire is known as Romanization. In 21 BCE, Rome was under the control of the first emperor of Rome, the adopted son of Julius Caesar, Augustus. He ruled for 44 years and shaped the way the Roman emperors ruled. The period under Augustus was known as the Pax Romana, or period of Roman peace, which lasted for 200 years. He also made some reforms, such as better tax collection, building projects, a permanent and professional army, conquered land was given to retired soldiers, and there was easier access to Roman citizenship. At one time, the Senate had the power to vote and make laws, but under the emperor, they had no authority. The emperor had the final word in all things, even who would rule after he died. The emperor commanded the army, was the judge, made laws, ran the government, controlled religious life, appointed officials, and governed the provinces. In the provinces outside of the city of Rome, a governor was chosen by the emperor, who was responsible for taxations, defending the borders of the province, and maintaining law and order. Taxes were used to pay for infrastructure, so that is things like aqueducts, roads, and bridges. So we can see here the way that a Roman road was made. At the very bottom we had sand or dry earth, then crushed rock, gravel and cement with mortar, sand and gravel, and then large stone slabs. And on either side was a drainage ditch. These roads were very well made and allowed for the army to travel throughout the empire quickly. Roads also made travel safer for merchants. The transportation network was composed of land, sea, and river routes. The roads connected every reach of the empire to Rome itself, and this is where we get the saying, all roads lead to Rome. Wherever the army set up camp, there would be Roman traders and merchants. Provinces used Rome's roads to trade their goods, mainly with Rome, which was the richest place in the empire. The provinces traded natural resources, finished products, and slaves with Rome. While slaves did occasionally rebel, Rome was very harsh with slaves who went against their masters. The conquered people of Rome paid taxes, and that money was used to help pay for the army and public buildings, such as the Circus Maximus, where chariot races were held, and the Colosseum, where gladiatorial games would be held for the entertainment of the people. Aqueducts were important because they also supplied the city with water, but also sewers got rid of waste. Yes, I'm talking about poop. They brought water from the mountains to the cities using these aqueducts. There were also public baths, so places in the city where people could get clean, and this would help prevent the spread of illness and diseases. The 12 aqueducts of Rome supplied 1 cubic meter of water per person. This is actually more water than the people of Rome get today. Over the years, Roman laws changed, but they were still effective in many ways. The law of the 12 tables said all citizens were equal before the law and that there were to be two types of laws, criminal and civil laws. So civil laws were laws that dealt with relationships between individuals, like marriage and business, and criminal law dealt with crime. The law also had nothing to do with religion. It was secular, which means free of religion. People were innocent of a crime until proven guilty, and the accuser had to prove guilt in a criminal case. The social structure of Rome was similar to that of Athens, inasmuch as citizens had political rights. The Perigni were like the Medics. They had civil liberties, but no political rights, and slaves had neither rights nor freedoms. However, as the empire grew, to be a citizen, you either had to be an ally and settle in Rome, report someone who misbehaved, or provide a service to the city to be considered Romanized enough, or serve in the army. Now, women in Rome were far more privileged than women in Athens. Freeborn women were citizens, but they didn't have the same rights as men. Women were under the authority of their husband or father. They were supposed to take care of the children and manage the households. They were allowed to go out alone and interact with the people, but they could not participate in political life. Now, the main language of the empire was Latin. It was a language that most people spoke, and it was used throughout the empire for trade, trials, laws, and basically everything. People who were conquered often adopted the Latin language, as well as other aspects of Roman life, such as clothing and games. Now, like the Greeks, the Romans were polytheists, so they believed in many gods. To make the gods happy, they often made sacrifices to them. Instead of forcing their religion on conquered people, they slowly assimilated people into their own religion, so they made other people similar to the rest of the Greek community. The Roman religion not only had Greek gods, but Egyptian and Persian gods as well. Roman buildings were also something to behold. Now, they borrowed some of their building style from the Greeks. Often the places that Rome conquered made their buildings similar to the style of buildings that were popular in Rome. One Roman building, the Colosseum, seated 50,000 people and was finished in AD CE. This was where gladiators and animals fought, but also where people who did not assimilate to the Roman religion, such as Christians, were put to death and eaten by lions. These games were meant to distract the peasants and make them happy with their position in the Roman Empire. Other buildings, like the Arch of Titus, celebrate Rome's victories over their enemies. This arch commemorates the Romans destroying the city of Jerusalem. In the 3rd century CE, there would be some problems that would weaken the Roman Empire. Bad leaders, economic trouble, the rise of Christianity, and the invasion of foreigners would definitely cause problems. In 395, the empire split into the Western Empire in Rome and the Eastern Empire in Constantinople. The rich in Rome started getting richer and the poor got poorer, which created tension between the two classes. Christians also began to spread their religion throughout the empire. But in the end, it was in 476 when Rome was conquered, and this was the end of the Roman Empire. However, the Eastern Empire in Constantinople managed to continue for another 1,000 years. In today's world, you have rights as a citizen of Canada, such as legal rights, voting rights, and other political rights. People also have to meet certain criteria to obtain citizenship in Canada if you weren't born here, such as be a resident, live in Canada for a certain amount of time, or have knowledge of an official language. And just like the Romans took part in public building projects, so do Canadians today, such as the building of schools, hospitals, and roads. Well, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.